On today's episode of the Mark Titus Show, football is back. College football week 1 in the books. NFL starts tonight. We're recording this on Thursday. The whole country is jazzed up about football, so we are on this show going to talk about Penny Hardaway. Penny Hardaway and the Memphis Tigers have a situation on their hands. Now, if you have no idea what I'm talking about, great news. I'm not really sure I know what I'm talking about either, which is kind of a staple on the show, but allegations have been levied against the Memphis basketball program that Penny Hardaway is paying his players. Now, those of you that are privy to college basketball news might hear this news and say, why is that a big deal? Why does this matter? Isn't NIL a thing? Can't you pay players now? Yes, you can. You can do it through certain channels. Penny Hardaway allegedly did not do it through those channels, which would make this the dumbest scandal ever because paying players is now legal. And for somehow, some way, he has found a way to pay players illegally, allegedly, is what they're saying. Also, allegations of tutor fraud, which we'll get into a little bit. Like this is a tale as old as time, as basketball tutors are taking tests for players and whatever else. But the Memphis basketball program is in a little bit of hot water right now, and Penny Hardaway is not a coach that I think has the full backing of Memphis, but maybe he does. I don't know. Interesting situation because you might remember there was a coup formed against Tubby Smith to get him out of Memphis to supplant Penny Hardaway as the head coach of Memphis. This is the guy that this program wanted. This is all the fans wanted. He is the best player in program history in terms of notoriety, in terms of talent, everything. And now he is the head coach of Memphis, and they're in a sticky situation where, frankly, they're not winning enough. And now there's some allegations against him. So talk about that a little bit. Also, huge news in college basketball is kind of a retread, but it's a story that's not going to go away till it happens. Is UConn to the Big 12? That's a rumor that's been swirling. I think today, right before we sat down to record, news broke that they have paused the talks, that the Big 12 has said we're not actually going to continue these talks for right now, which my read is that means we're done for the day. We'll pick it up. Let's all go home, have dinner, tuck our kids in, and let's do it again tomorrow because this is not going to go away. But, yeah, UConn to the Big 12 is a thing that I'll save my thoughts on it. But we're going to talk about that because this is, they sort of put a pin in it, and it's like, oh, okay, so it's not going to happen. We don't need to address it. But I think we do because I don't think it's anything that's going away anytime soon. Also, North Carolina, speaking of seismic decisions in college basketball, reports come out that North Carolina is considering moving the Dean Dome off campus, which is a bozo idea. So, yeah, there's some college basketball stuff to hit on that I want to talk about because sport never sleeps. It is football season, but I don't know. College basketball finds a way to keep some shit bubbling up, and we're going to do our best to talk about it. Tate is joining me today. All that is on the agenda. A little bit more. I got some fun things I want to. I'm fired up about this Maui invitation. I just gotta say that. I'm fired up. I was looking at flights yesterday, Tate. They are outrageously expensive. I don't live in Los Angeles anymore. That flight is so fucking long. And there's like 5 of them. But this field has me so excited, and I think honestly, this Memphis news has me even more excited. So, because Memphis will be there. Memphis will be in the Maui Invitational. They're going to play the 2-time defending national champions UConn in the first game. Anyway, we'll talk about that maybe a little bit. Fun show lined up today. Let's get into it. All right, a handful of things to get to. It is still off-season college basketball. I understand it's football season. A lot of people are locked in on that, and that's okay. That's okay, but there are people that, believe it or not, there are people that don't care about football that much. Or there are people that care about, there are people like me that care about football. I can still watch football, but that doesn't mean I'm turning my college basketball brain off.
Always good to talk basketball.
Yeah. I will watch the game tonight between the Chiefs and the Chiefs and the Ravens. Yeah, huge football fan. Between the Chiefs and the Ravens. But I'll also do so as I'm scrolling through Memphis basketball allegations.
And there are times to joke and be like, it's the dead period of college basketball. I get that football has started. There's some good things going on in the world of college basketball. There's some juicy stories.
All right, so this news comes out, and I might need you to walk me through this because I am. One thing you'll learn about me if you haven't yet is I'm a dumbass when it comes to like really everything, but mostly some point in the last like 4 to 5 years in college basketball, all of college sports, but I'm specifically talking about college basketball. You need a law degree to understand what's going on in this sport. And I have become so dumb because I've just like checked out on like all the Board of Regents is voting this way for this and what they needed for, can they get out of this conference, and like now remember that there's a lawsuit against the NCAA for the lawsuits have been a big thing. Challenging the NCAA in court's been a thing, conference all that. It's so far over my head that I've opted out on like trying to understand it. And I say that all as a precursor to say that like I saw the Penny Hardaway story. Mm-hmm. I started reading it, and I realized that like 5 years ago, I would have dove into this. This would have been like Sean Miller type shit at Arizona. I would have cracked my knuckles. I'd be like, I'm all about this. Let's do it. But I have so much fatigue from like violations, especially stemming from that. The FBI, I'm sure you remember, Tate. The guy gets in front of the camera and he's like, "We have your playbook." He says it announces the entire college basketball world.
Incredible.
And I'm like, holy shit, the whole sport's gonna collapse. Mm-hmm. Ever since then, I've become a huge dumbass when I try to read this stuff. So I was reading and I'm like, there's allegations of paying players under the table, which like I didn't even know there was a table still. There's allegations of tutors taking tests for players, which I read and I was like, yeah, no fucking shit. Like, that's college basketball, baby. And Penny Hardaway, the real news I think is Penny Hardaway's like fired all his assistants
right before house.
Right before the season started.
Well, the good news for you, Titus, is you may have fatigue on that. I'm living on the message boards, living in
okay, good. Right, that's what I was hoping you'd say.
So I'll give you a quick rundown, and then you just you go from there. So basically, it started yesterday. Penny Hardaway made a statement. There would be some changes within the Memphis basketball program. He fired 3 assistant coaches and, call back to when we talked about this the other day, the special advisor to the program. So he gets rid of 4 people. Now you're asking, why would you get rid of 4 people 2 months before the season?
Right, yeah.
What would you assume?
I would assume that all 4 people are culpable in like some sort of scandal.
In something, right?
Yeah.
Because, and there's some people being like, it's called cleaning house. Like Memphis missed the tournament last year. Memphis missed the...
You do that right after the season. You don't do that right now.
You don't do it after you have a whole summer. You've had your workouts, you have your fall. And then he goes, oh, by the way, you 4 are out. So where there's smoke, there's fire. Something's going on.
Right, and if there's fire and your whole game plan is that these 4 guys... knew or they facilitated whatever violations or whatever it is going on, and I didn't know about it. That is an impossible case to make. That like I had 4 assistants doing shit, and I didn't know about it. Like that would be the definition of like institutional or lack of institutional control.
It reeks of a last ditch effort by Penny Hardaway to play the blame game on everyone else, except for himself. But the way the statement read, Memphis nor Penny talked about why they were making it. They just said it was the proper direction for the program to go, and they're going to try and win the conference tournament, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, that is when the rest of the story started coming out, and I'm choosing to believe it. Hitman Hoops.
Yeah, you always choose to believe.
Yeah, you have to.
Yeah.
Believe what you want.
Of course.
Hitman Hoops, which is a Memphis basketball analyst. Okay, he's got thousands of followers, so I do believe what he's saying here. He seems to be in tune with Memphis. Said that an anonymous letter was received by Coach Penny Hardaway last week. And now, but hear me out. This is why I'm believing it, though. Memphis has confirmed that there was an anonymous letter.
That's crazy.
So this is it reminds me of in Jersey Shore. What was it? Did
Ronnie Snooki wrote the letter to Sammy about Ronnie.
That Ronnie was sucking face with someone.
With an ugly girl, right? Didn't she put in the
but no one knew who it was from. Yeah. So basically, Sammy Sweetheart is the athletic director of Memphis right now because the athletic director says they have been looking into it. Now, here's what the allegations appear to be. One is that Penny Hardaway authorized $30,000 to $60,000 payment to DeAndre Williams, with Jermaine Johnson giving the payment, who is gone.
Yeah.
So they're paying players. But talk me through that. What is that? How is that illegal?
I think so. When NIL was started, everyone. So I'm going to explain it as like the by the book way it's supposed to work. Is NIL is not the way the NCAA will explain it to you is that it's not a pay players scheme. It is you get the player to commit to the university because they love the campus, they love the coaching staff, they love the academic pursuits that they might be able to entertain while they're there as they are advancing towards a degree. These are the reasons they are going to commit to your school. They might love the co-eds, whatever. Just your traditional, like, this is the reason I want to go to this school.
That's what they said.
Then once they're there, they can now use their image to do a car commercial and collect the check. Now, everybody, the second this passed, was like, why not leverage the opportunity to have these commercials and these NIL opportunities as a recruiting tool to get the people here, which ipso facto makes it we're just going to pay you if you come here. If you come here, we will see to it that you get this much money in NIL, right? So, like, the system we have is essentially pay players directly. It's just not directly. It's directly pay them. What Penny Hardaway, my understanding is, what he is being accused of is just not even, like, doing the bare minimum of, like, just funnel the money through, like, a local fucking...
Yeah, car dealership, pizza place, whatever.
Yes.
You're going to do 3 commercials for them.
Yes. He didn't even bother doing that. He was just like, here's a bag of cash, which the NCAA still deems illegal. Now, it is confusing because they also just passed something, and this is where I'm a dumbass, and I'm the wrong guy to lead in the conversation on this, but they just passed something where the schools can now pay the players directly because I think they realize that, like, this system is... The moment it passed, it was corrupt. It didn't even take, like, the old system did take a few years for it to be corrupt. Now, most especially younger people, they know college sports as being corrupt their entire lives. But there was a time in, like, the 1930s when, like, you didn't have to worry about guys getting paid $500,000 to go play college basketball somewhere. So it took a little bit of natural time for corruption to seep into college sports. Then television contracts, then shoe contracts come in. The money explodes. The corruption explodes with it. But all that took time, right? The NIL system they passed, it took negative time. It took like people were recruiting this way before the system even passed. They were like, when this passes in July or whatever, and it's like April, they're like, when July comes, we're going to do this for you. Like, it took 0 seconds for it to become corrupt. So they have now since changed the rules, I think, to where the schools are going to be able to pay the players directly. But all that is to say that there was a window where you had to go through NIL channels, and apparently Penny Hardaway did not do that. And he was just paying players.
Which would be a huge indictment on Penny Hardaway in general. Would be like, hey, you're allowed to pay people if you can just get them to maybe tweet one time. Like,
tweet one time.
Hey, I enjoyed my cheeseburger down at the diner.
Right.
But instead, we're still doing the bags of cash,
which is crazy because it's a stupid scandal because, like, nobody cares. Like, nobody in the general public, no matter even if you're like the most staunch, like, conservative, and I don't mean politically, like, conservative, your views are conservative towards, like, college sports, and you're like, I wish we'd go back to the days of, like, these guys don't make any money. I think most people have given up the fight and they kind of realize what the sport is. So nobody's going to, like, hear this story and be like, Penny Hardaway's a piece of shit for paying his players. What a cheating scumbag. And yet at the same time, you're not cheating, but you're like how can you be this
just color inside the lines.
Yeah.
I mean, my goodness. But so that was one. The second one would be that they arranged for an apartment and $60,000 to another player. Now, do you have this apartment thing? This seems to be something not just in college basketball. I've seen it in college football as well lately, where we've got these big-time big-time recruits committing to schools, and then it coming out that the University of Tennessee gave their family a house. Yeah. Gave their family an apartment.
Yeah.
Has that always been a thing?
That's always been a thing, yeah. Zion Williamson's family, I think, moved into Marvin Bagley's house. Duke. Or vice versa. So who was first? Bagley was 18, Zion was 19. Yeah.
So they just...
That's the story. That's the story in Durham was like Marvin Bagley's family's like moving out of the house. It's like Zion.
It's like
the same day,
they just got the Duke fraternity letters up there, and it's just like a...
Yeah, it's like people. That's what I heard, at least. I guess we should say allegedly. I don't know. But I hear that. That is kind of been a thing for a while. None of this stuff is new.
Right. Well,
none of it's new. It's just like, how can you get caught in 2024 doing this? That's what's confusing to me.
And the other allegation, which is by far my favorite allegation, is that the academic counselor was appointed to do academic assignments for 4 players. But here's the kicker. Because that happened. You said it before the show. You said that's the academic counselor's job, right?
That's the job. You take tests for the player.
We hire you to write essays. Tale as old as time. She was fired. Academic counselor and her sister were doing the assignments. So that'd be
It's a family business.
It's
family
essentially
business
yeah. What's that website? Chegg, where you just
is that what
the study tool? You know,
we didn't have that.
You know, it's like basically
no, dude. We had Wikipedia.
You had SparkNotes?
We had Spark. Yeah, we did have SparkNotes back in the day. What's Chegg?
Chegg is an educational support services company, aka check it out.
Chegg? No shit. Well, you're a teacher, dude.
Yeah,
You've been
CHEGG. 24/7 homework help. Basically, you pay for.
Why does that sound like a slur of some sort?
traded publicly on the New York Stock Exchange.
Chegg, dude. What kind of word is that?
But yeah,
my friend's a fucking Chegg, dude. That sounds like so. That sounds like a.
But basically, you pay them and then they do your assignments for you, and apparently that's illegal now.
Launched in 2006. So by the time this was popping off, I was probably out of school.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, as of began trading publicly in 2013. Yeah, I miss Chegg, dude. I miss Chegg.
Were you like a SparkNotes type of guy, or were you nose to the book?
Yeah, I was a SparkNotes guy. We had tutors, and I had too much pride to let them cheat for me.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I wasn't good enough for them to cheat for me. They're like,
they weren't.
we're not putting the program at risk for you to pass these classes. Yeah, I don't know. I kind of gave up on school after my first 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
So
you did graduate.
I just did. Yeah, I graduated, but I just did whatever I could to pass. Like I think my first year I was trying really hard to get A's, and then like I got on the basketball team and I was like, "Fuck this, this is stupid."
So you have experience. You truly have experience with the best of the best, most elite college basketball players. Like you played with Oden,
right?
You played with Colin,
yes.
Turner. What do they have any interest in the academic part? Because you've been to college,
right? It does vary. There are I would say more often than not no. I wouldn't say like no, because that's not fair either to like just pretend like they don't find any value in it whatsoever. Mm-hmm. But let's call a spade. Like Mike Conley and Greg Oden especially, they knew they were going to the NBA very quickly, mm-hmm. and they weren't there. They did not go to Ohio State thinking I'm going to get a 4-year degree. Now I will say both of those guys, they declared for the draft. And they could have theoretically just stopped going to classes. The Ohio State basketball program asked them as they prepared for the draft to keep like faking it or whatever, like just keep showing up, or like
keep letting the tutor do their work.
Keep sending in assignments, and they did do that. And I think like both of them were like kind of interested in the college experience and like going to a classroom and like mingling with the other students a little bit. But like no, like Greg wasn't in class. Like I want to pursue an advanced degree,
but
like which is funny because he actually does have. I think he has his master's.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, no one's asking these guys to get A's and to get their MBAs or anything like that. So I guess that's my point here. Is I thought that these primetime, big time Division I schools, everyone should be on the same page here. Turn in an assignment.
Just turn in an assignment.
And then professor, give them a freaking C-.
I remember Daquan Cook got a 0 on a I walked into I think I wrote about this story in my book. Daquan Cook, I walked into their dorm one time and he had a paper laying on like the kitchen counter, and I picked it up and it said like 0 out of 100, and he wrote like 3 pages. And I was like, how the fuck do you get a 0 on an essay? Like you gotta,
yeah,
like 0 is like you didn't even do it.
Correct.
And he got a 0 out of 100, and I was thumbing through the notes, and there was like a note written on there that was like, this isn't even the topic you were assigned.
Oh no, Daquan.
He had to write an essay on like the French Revolution, and he's writing about like Apple stock or something.
That's not a good look. But that's how you get a 0 on a paper like that.
Yeah. But Daquan, you know what? A couple months later, Daquan Cook was in the league, making millions of dollars, won an NBA 3-point contest. So, yeah, I don't have a problem with that at all. Like I think like the understanding, like this is what makes this embarrassing to me, is not that when I see this story, I don't think Penny Hardaway, what a scumbag, cheating piece of shit. Mm-hmm. I think how can you like these guys are doing stuff that everybody does, but you have to be able to massage it a little bit. Like it's not that hard to get your student athletes to pass assignments, but not make it so obvious that the tutor's doing all the work.
Play the game.
It's not that hard to pay your players, but do it through the proper channels. Mm-hmm. None of this is that hard. Every single coach has figured out a way to do it. And that to me is more the indictment, is like, how can you not understand how this system works? And on top of it, if we want to talk about the basketball, Memphis has been like good enough for you to notice how not good they are, basically. Like they've been, last year I think they were ranked in the top 10 at one point, missed the tournament.
Got to 10 in the AP pool, started 15-2 last year.
That was fraudulent. I mean, I remember last year when they got it. They were never that good. But the team 2 years ago, to their, like, there is an argument that they got fucked against FAU in the first round and like that. There is a what if argument, and I am a little sensitive to that because that's a real thing. That like if the ball bounces a different way against FAU, and there were some questionable calls down the stretch. It was the thinnest of margins. FAU goes on to the Final Four. Memphis goes home in the first round. I do believe like the butterfly effect sucks, but the reality is like you lost that game. Right. 2 years before, or the year before that, now 3 years ago, I guess it would be, they take Gonzaga to the wire, the 1 seed Gonzaga team. They lose to Gonzaga. But that seems to be what Memphis' ceiling is under Penny Hardaway. Like he gets like these incredible players. I said this at the top, I remember vividly, Tubby Smith was a coach at Memphis. I didn't think Tubby was like killing it, but Tubby Smith has won a national championship. Tubby Smith is a pretty well-respected guy in college basketball circles. Now, if you want to argue that like the game has passed him by, he's old, like there's so much changing in the sport and he wasn't keeping up with it, I'm not here to say that you're wrong. I just remember sitting on the sidelines watching as James Wiseman is coming up in the Tennessee basketball system. Penny Hardaway has a personal relationship with him. The Memphis fans literally formed a coup. I will never forget this. There was a literal coup that was like, they told the school, you must fire Tubby Smith and we must hire Penny Hardaway so we can get James Wiseman. And it sort of checked out in that like James Wiseman, pretty highly rated recruit, pretty good fucking player. But that's how the guy kind of got the job in the first place. And you're thinking like it's all the ends will justify the means. If we can put Penny in, if we can install him as the coach, kick Tubby to the curb, and we get all these 5 stars, and we can sort of become like what John Calipari is at Kentucky, and we're now in the mix for all the 5 stars, and we're getting all the talented guys. And Penny's basically what Deion Sanders is at Colorado, or what Deion thinks he is in his mind. And that's what the program becomes, then fuck it. Yeah, we'll throw Tubby Smith's carcass in the gutter. Who gives a shit? This is all going to be worth it. And now we're 7 years in. That's not the case at all.
That's the thing. He
have 0 Sweet 16s.
Got the job in a dirty-ish way, you would say.
Yeah, it's controversial only to outsiders. Like Memphis people, it wasn't controversial at all. They're like, this is what needs to be done. This is what we have to do. But
didn't sit well. And then his entire time there, I think through 6 seasons now, have been plagued by allegations and controversy. And all that. For what?
For what?
For 2 tournament appearances, 1 tournament win.
Remember the Monty Bates circus? Remember, like, it's just been on and on and on. And I think, like, on the one hand, so I made like Penny's the obvious parallel to Deion at Colorado with Colorado football because all sorts of reasons. Like it's just an electric player that has like the nostalgia factor. You can recruit. But at the same time, there's like a little bit of an off the field circus issue going on, and you're kind of like you're torn on how good of a coach he actually is, and it's not fair to say he's a dog shit coach. He's not. Like as far as I remember, I think Memphis has won like 20 games every year under Penny. But at the same time, you expected more, and I'd say the biggest difference between Penny and Deion. Now, one thing in Penny's credit, I don't think Penny is as braggadocious. Is that the word I'm looking for? As like Deion is rubbing people very
Deion
much
is
the wrong
look
way.
At me. Let's put the social media on the back of the jersey. Like Penny's not necessarily
quite that bad,
begging for attention,
right?
But his actions are gaining attention.
So I will give Penny credit in that regard. Like I do think he is more traditional with his approach than Deion is, certainly. But the biggest difference to me is that Deion Sanders was inheriting a program that had won 1 football game, that was at absolute rock bottom, that was in the worst conference in college football, that was falling apart in the Pac-12. Like this was when he took the job, they were still in the Pac-12, and then they immediately flipped to the Big 12. But it was a dire situation in Boulder for Colorado football. Yeah, and they were like, fuck it, let's roll the dice on Deion Sanders. Penny Hardaway's not, like, Memphis is one of the better programs in the country. And to have a guy like that, which he's not as extreme as Deion, but that is the parallel. That's like the feeling you get is like there's always something off the court with Penny. There's unbelievable amounts of talent. I mean, like even this year, Memphis, I'm going to talk myself into them maybe having a chance to like make the tournament. They won't. They'll
8 transfers and added a top 100 freshman.
Yeah. They're going to
be good.
They're going to have talent. Are they going to be able to pull all that talent together? I don't like the last year's team got the top 10. I felt like they were frauds at that. Forget last year's team. the two teams before that were legitimately good basketball teams. I think he can coach a legitimately good basketball team. The question is, with all the off-court stuff, if these allegations are true, and even if they're not, you fire 4 coaches right before the season.
Can you fathom the idea? I don't understand why Memphis seems to be letting him get away with this, that these 4 people were the bad guys.
Yeah,
like Penny didn't know what was going on, but then they have found
there's no argument to be made that like 4 guys were in on this undermining the head coach, but the head coach didn't know.
Right. So they're all talking in there.
Because even if that was the case, then the head coach is way more inept than we realized. So like, I don't know how
lose-lose.
I don't know how he's going to win that one. But beyond all that, it's just like, I mean, is all of this circus and the fact that Memphis seems to always be in the news for various reasons. Don't forget there's a guy when Memphis played Tennessee, I think it was, who shit in this has nothing to do with Penny Hardaway. It's not his fault. I'm just like thinking about like all the Memphis basketball off court headlines. The guy who shit in the at the concession stand at the
he shit on the arena floor.
He shit on the arena floor.
Titled, "Sometimes you just got to take a shit on the arena floor in the middle of a basketball."
Completely unfair to pin that on Penny. Has nothing to do, but it was just as an aside, that did happen, and that was
sold out game.
Like Memphis is reaching Louisville levels where just like their headlines popping up as but I don't know. The point is like when you're bringing the distractions, you have to win basketball games, and I think if Penny Hardaway was the coach at a Florida International, say, if he was the coach at an Eastern Kentucky, not to belittle those programs, but like they're not on the same level as Memphis, and he was the coach and he was having the success he's having, and there was the off court, they'd be fine with it. They'd be like, this is awesome. We have Penny Hardaway's. Memphis at a certain point has to look in the mirror and be like, what are we as a program? And this is the issue that Michigan had with Juwan Howard. Juwan Howard struck a man, as I'm sure you remember. They bring him back because he's our guy. He's a Michigan man. Which used to mean something to those people. Now we know it doesn't mean a goddamn thing. Being a Michigan man's actually kind of an insult. They bring him back, but they're scared to fire him because he's their guy. And like he's the tether to like our most famous team, our most impactful era of basketball. If we sever that tie, what happens to the program moving forward? Finally gets to a point where it's like we have to pull the trigger on this. But that's the problem that Memphis will have with Penny moving forward. Is like. Yeah, I mean, like if Penny Hardaway hadn't played here, if Penny Hardaway wasn't a legend here, we probably would have fired his ass. But he was, and that's the whole reason we hired him in the first place, and that does factor into it. And it's just
so my question then, Titus, the one thing I don't think you've addressed yet: who writes a letter like this?
That's a great question.
Who delivers a?
That's a great.
Hey,
question.
I know every damn thing you guys have been doing wrong for the last couple of years, and I'm going to drop it off without my name on it.
Is it Snooki? I mean, we have to ask the question. Joey Camasta, I think, is friends with Snooki. We could probably get Snooki on the show
next week. I could
DM Joey and just be like, "Can you get Snooki on the show? I want to see if she wrote a note to Penny Hardaway." No, I'm fascinated to see how it all plays out because I don't think this is. I actually don't know. I don't know. I don't give a shit if the NCAA does anything about this. To be honest with you, it speaks more to me that like Penny doesn't really have control over what's going on in his program. That's really the headline to me.
We know these things are going on everywhere.
Right.
Penny, you got to be better than that.
Yeah. Quick break to talk about our friends at Cars.com. We have the employee parking spot here at the Barstool Chicago office, I should say. The Cars.com Employee of the Month parking spot. Who has that right now? Is it KB? KB has the. Yes. KB has the spot. I don't even know if KB drives. I think whoever wins the spot is it's somehow worked out that like whoever has the spot doesn't actually have a car and they just get to keep all of us that drive into work from having the spot. Anyway, while the Cars.com parking spot is so helpful to not have to battle for a spot, I will hopefully one day get the Cars.com Employee of the Month spot. The Cars.com Your Garage feature is probably even better. I love how I can track my car's value and see how much it'll be worth in 2 months. I've been thinking about getting something different, and knowing my car's value is beyond helpful in making that decision. Since KB has the Cars.com parking spot this week, he'll have plenty of extra time to create an account with Cars.com and track their car's value. KB got the most prized parking spot at Barstool, but we can all grab some valuable insights into our car's value with Cars.com Your Garage feature. The Barstool Employee Parking Garage is frustrating, but Cars.com new feature, Your Garage, is anything but. Track your car's value so you can know exactly what to expect when you're ready to sell. Track your car's value on Cars.com. I want to talk about this before. Do you have anything else on Penny?
No,
I think I'm exhausted on the. I think we said everything that needs to be said. I want to talk about UConn to the Big 12 because I've been chewing on this for a while. First of all, I guess I haven't addressed it on my own show that I haven't done a show in a few weeks because I got married and went on a honeymoon. And
shout out, Titus. How's that not in your intro?
Yeah, I guess I just now realized it because I'm talking about how this has been going on and I never addressed it on the show. Yeah, for those of you that listen, first of all, for the handful of you that only listen to this show and like nothing else that I'm on, God bless you. I love you.
Their jaws just hit the ground.
Yeah, they're like, wait, what? Like we were wondering where the show was last week. I sometimes make that mistake of assuming that like if I announce something on the Yak that you know it on here, and I think there are a handful of people that are like I like you on this show. Got to be honest, Titus on Mostly Sports, kind of a bitch, kind of a bozo.
They just want to talk ball,
I like you. I like you on your show. Anyway, I got married, went on a honeymoon, and we haven't obviously done a show for a couple weeks. So UConn to the Big 12 has been a story in that time. The talks have ramped back up since then. As we're recording this right now, today news broke, I guess. I don't even know if it counts as breaking news. It just like was put out there that they've shelved the conversation. They've what's the language?
So essentially, here's what we had early on. We had that there was confirmed discussions that UConn would be going to the Big 12 in all sports. It would start for all sports except for football, either once they can come to an agreement with the Big East or after a 27-month waiting period. So that's 2 years.
Yeah.
In 2 years, they'd be there. Football in 2031. However, today, the Big 12 commissioner came out and said that since he is the commissioner, it's his responsibility to explore a variety of value-creating opportunities. And at this time, along with UConn's leadership, we are going to pause. We're going to pause. You can unpause very easily. That's just one button. That's just play. You just push play and you're back unpaused. That is the softest.
Yeah, that's not.
Like pause could be we've been meeting for the last 3 weeks and we're going to dinner.
That's exactly what I think. I think it's that. It's like, I'm hungry. Should we go eat and then reconvene tomorrow morning?
In no way did they say they're not interested, we're not interested, this isn't happening. No. They said we're all going to watch the college football games this weekend and come back together.
I have a piping hot, spicy take that will shock my listeners because I have become a curmudgeonly, crusty old man. That does not want to get with the times. It does not want to accept change in really any form of life, but especially college basketball. Are you ready for this tape?
Yeah, I don't know where this is going.
I want UConn in the Big 12.
I had you as the exact opposite.
Yeah, I think most people probably would. And I'm going to explain
with why. What reason?
I want this to happen. And so when UConn went back to the Big East, I was so, like everybody else, I was like, that's where they belong. UConn belongs in the motherfucking Big East. That's where they belong. You're
going to be in the extreme minority.
I know I am. Let me lay this out for you. I think I was so excited when UConn went back to the Big East. UConn playing Big East tournament games in Madison Square Garden. I've been there for it when they've got. I've gone to a couple Big East tournaments since UConn came back. The buzz in the place is unfucking believable. It is perfect. It is a perfect marriage. It's exactly where they belong. No doubt about it. Here's the problem. Things have changed. 2024, college sports, it's always been dominated by football, but now we're at a level where it's running everything. Conference realignment has dictated everything. The Big 12, from the Big 12 point of view, it makes total sense why they would want UConn because as much as football dominates everything, UConn football is absolute dog shit. Brett Yormark, who's a smart guy, identified very quickly that in the conference realignment shuffling, there are two mega powers. We are trending towards there being SEC, Big Ten, and everybody else. And that's it. It's going to be just two. It's going to be AFC, NFC. That's it. And the only way there's going to be a third option sticking around is if he can turn the Big 12 into a basketball powerhouse, because at the end of the day, the one strong leverage play that the non-football schools have is the NCAA tournament. That's the one, like, as much as football runs everything, the NCAA tournament is still billions of dollars and like fucking makes a shit ton of money for everybody. And if the Big 12 can create a world where their basketball is so good that the ACC and the Big Ten cannot have a tournament without them and claim to be national champions. It's just a farce of an idea. Then they can survive.
They would have Kansas,
yes,
Arizona,
yes,
add UConn,
I mean, Baylor, Houston.
Oh yeah, but there's an argument. I mean, those are three of the big dogs.
But those three, those three are massive. So so that strategy makes sense from the Big 12, where it's like, bring on UConn basketball. We'll tolerate the football. But what we have done is, as the ACC and Big Ten arms race unfolds, and maybe those two conferences are looking to go to like 28 teams apiece or something, and then they'll wipe their hands and be like, fuck the rest of you, we're done. Now let's just play each other, and this is the new college sports system. They can't cut the Big 12 out at this point. If you add UConn, they kind of can't already. Because like I think the Big 12 is the best basketball league right now, and like they can't, like you can't have an NCAA tournament and be like it's just Big 10 and SEC schools.
Yeah, there's too many
good
notables.
Too many notables. Yeah. But that's the idea, I think, behind the Big 12 is like that's our way to stay alive. We're never going to be the Big 10 or the SEC, but we can maintain our standing as like a viable conference if we don't lean all the way into basketball, but acknowledge that like basketball is a very strong card that we can play.
So you make a good point as to why the Big 12 would be extremely welcoming of Connecticut. But you said you think they should do it, or you want them to do it.
I think it's a win for everybody. Not so much the Big East in the short term, but maybe in the long term.
Hold on.
Hold on.
This is a win for the Big East.
Not in the short term, maybe not even the long term. I think it's a win. It's not a win for money in the long term. I think it's a win for the Big East it's not a win for the Big East. Except for this, like having UConn's never going to stop using the leverage that they have. One, their football program's dog shit, but their football program is FBS, is it not? Am I understanding that correctly? Or they're not FCS? Are they the only FBS school in
the Big East?
In the Big East, I think that's true, right? Yeah. So UConn is the only FBS team in the Big East, and if there was a world where like what they say they pause the conversation, if there's a world where they pause and then hit stop, and now it's over, then yeah, I'd probably want UConn to stay in the Big East. The reason I want them to probably just is like the writing's on the wall that this is never going to end. They're always going to look around. They're going to say, football is driving everything, and we don't give a fuck about football, but at the same time, we give a fuck about money, and we are the only school in this conference that has an FBS football team. And on top of that, we have won the last 2 national championships. We have the best basketball program. I think in the snap of a finger, UConn went from being desperate to get into the Big East again to now they looked around and they're like, we don't need the Big East. We don't need this. And I think from the Big East point of view, that is going to be exhausting for the rest of the schools to deal with. That UConn has. I'm not even talking about, because like that'll ebb and flow. They're not going to win every national championship, and they're not going to be the top dog in the Big East every single year. But the football thing is not going to change anytime soon, and that's going to be a card that they're going to have over everybody. And I think at some point, the rest of the schools should just look around and be like, were we better off when it was just all a bunch of like Catholic schools that like don't have football really, and we just fucking love basketball and we don't have to deal with the UConn part? Financially, probably not, but like as a culture, as like a system of what you want your conference to be, where everybody's on level playing and everything makes equal amount of sense. Maybe in the long term, that makes more sense for the Big East to kind of make it their brand, where that's what they are. Whereas UConn is playing like a different game than I think all the other schools in the Big East.
Do you think the other schools in the Big East sit around and make that point as well, that UConn is kind of like the big fish in a small pond, where they are the only team bringing in football revenue?
Yeah, I have to imagine that's going. And now that you can pay players, I have to imagine that's going to like factor into. And
that's actually when they were talking
the
about
equity of the teams.
100%. And while they were talking about that, they were confirmed talking. UConn's reasons were, we want to improve our football revenue, and we want to, which will in turn improve our NIL.
NIL for basketball. They're gonna
correct.
They're gonna cash.
They're going there.
They're gonna cash checks with football television contracts. Take that money, funnel it to basketball, and
bring in top 100 recruits. Yeah, I mean UConn right now. There's only 2 independent football teams in the whole country: UConn and Notre Dame. But those 2 aren't aligned.
No, they're not aligned at all. And then it makes sense for UConn for what you just said. You just made the case for why UConn would want to do it is money. It's all money. Like Big East would lose out on that money, and I think that from that standpoint, that's a loss. But I was just trying to like put lipstick on the pig and say, when this does happen, I don't think it's the worst thing. Now, of course, when you have a team in your conference that's won back-to-back national titles, and I'm saying, no, it's actually good if they're no longer in your conference. I think the conference is like, what the fuck are you talking about?
I feel like the conference.
I would love to.
The conference might all say, hey, we'll start football teams, and
but if the scenario, like I said, was stop, it's done, it's over, UConn is in the Big East forever, and they're happy, then yeah, of course I want that. I just don't think this is ever going to go away. I think they're going to unpause the conversations. They're going to keep UConn is going to always be just kind of looking around and being like, do we need to stay here? Do we need to stay? And I think at a certain point, if you're the rest of the schools, you're like, just fucking leave already. Then if you want to leave, unpause if you want to go. And they're probably not there yet. And I'm sure right now, as we sit here and they've won back-to-back titles, they're like, no, stay here. We want the. But maybe there will be a certain point. I don't know if it's another month or 3 months or 3 years down the road, where the Big East might just be like, fuck it, dude, just get out of here, and we'll all go back to like everyone sort of being on level playing field. And I do think there's something to that. And I think the Big East will be fine insofar as passionate fan bases. They still have a ton of money from like donors and stuff. Most of them, not all of them, but there's still like a very cool subculture in college bat. Like the Big East has still carved out their niche. That's like they are a power conference, but even without UConn, they do matter. They have the thing I said earlier with the Big 12, where like you will not be able to have an NCAA tournament without the Big East representation, and they'll survive and they'll be fine. So I think like maybe that's ultimately where we're going to lead to. But I think, knowing all of that, seeing all the writing on the wall, I'm like, fuck it, dude. If this is what college sports is, and the conference realignment is happening, UConn and the Big 12 would be. I mean, the Big 12 is the best basketball conference already. And you're adding UConn. That's going to be fucking bonkers.
Yeah, I'll take the under 20-31 on this one.
Yeah,
they're not sitting around for the next 7 years.
So I'm not like a lot of things with conference realignment. I think a lot of the conference realignment stuff I was like actively fighting in my brain. I know I have no power to change any of this, but I was like, this is so stupid. Why are we doing this? This one marks the first time where I was like, I think they've won.
Yeah.
I think like I realized that like this is just what the world is. And honestly, I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and say that when I turn on my TV or the UConn basketball schedule comes out and they're like at Houston, home against Arizona, at Kansas, I'm not going to be like, that's fucking awesome. Yeah. So that's where I'm at with UConn and the Big 12. And I think it'll eventually happen, even though they've currently paused the.
Just on a dinner break.
You know what I don't want to have happen, though? You see this North Carolina news? I don't know how serious this. I got to reach out to Other Tate, or is he? I got to figure that out in my life too. Which one of you is Other Tate? But I gotta see how serious this is. Is this like a leverage play? I have no idea.
It has to be a leverage. Explain what's going on first.
Well, Carolina. The news is that Carolina is like exploring building an arena. In like 6 different places, 2 of which are off campus. I looked it up. I did my research on it. I put on my big J cap and did some journalism here. 2 of them are like well over a mile walk from campus, which like no student is. You could theoretically do it, but I think one of them was like you like the only. It looked like on the map like you're walking on like an interstate or some shit.
Yeah,
it's a cluster. Like two of the possible sites are, for all intents and purposes, not walkable from campus.
The term they used in the news was non-safe walkable distance. Like you students are not making this walk.
You theoretically could do it, but let's be honest. Like on game day, are students going to be like having a pregame at their house and then walk over to the game? No, that's not going to happen because it's going to be too far.
And that kills.
That's insane.
That's what I'm saying. Ask Tate. There is no way that they're throwing. But what's the reason they put those 2 on there then? Because there's no way those 2 win.
I have no idea. The only thing I can think is they're trying to somehow get a donor to step up to pay for renovations for the Dean Dome. That has to be what it is. Is that they realize the Dean Dome, for what it's worth. I like the Dean Dome. I've gone to like 5-ish games. I'd say 5 or 6 probably in my life to the Dean Dome. The Dean Dome gets a lot of shit for a wine and cheese crowd, for being kind of like an old building, but not old in a good way. It's not like historic old like Allen Fieldhouse or like Assembly Hall.
Some people call it a shithole.
It's a shithole. Yeah. I don't think it's a shithole. I think it's an empty garbage can.
Oh, okay.
It's like a garbage can, but it doesn't have trash in it right now.
So here's my question.
It's not that bad. Like you could use an empty garbage can for a lot of things.
Carrying things.
Yeah. I mean,
it's got its uses. But no. So I know you're not an architect by trade. Why can't they just renovate what they already have? What people love.
I think that's what they. I have to believe that's what they're going to. if they build an arena at the University of North Carolina off campus, I will fucking burn the campus to the ground personally.
I thought you were about to say eat shit.
I will eat dog shit. I will eat dog shit on a live stream. I will personally go to Chapel Hill and burn the campus to the ground. And I'm speaking on behalf of just all of college basketball. Like I think the Dean Dome gets way too much shit for being. Rupp Arena's the same way. Like Rupp Arena's not special. It's special because the Kentucky Wildcats play there. But like if you go there and you're like if I told you this is the home of the Northwestern Wildcats, you'd be like, this, I don't know, it holds a lot of people. It's like nothing special about it. But having said all that, it's still like how many legendary games have happened in there. I do think the Dean Dome gets loud as fuck when it does get loud. I think it's a fine. The problem is like you stack it up against Cameron Indoor. The two programs in North Carolina are most directly linked to is the University of Kansas, which is where Dean Smith comes from.
It's your number one arena.
Number one arena, I think, in college basketball. And Duke down the road, and they have maybe the two best arenas in all of college basketball. And I think when you stack Carolina up against their rival and like their kind of like sister program in Kansas, their arena kind of sucks, but I don't think it's that big of a deal. And I think if they renovate it and do kind of what Indiana did with Assembly Hall. Remember when Assembly Hall was like literally falling apart? There's like a steel beam that fell like during a game or some shit. If they do that, that has to be what they're doing. This has to be like a move to make some booster, some rich as fuck booster, Michael Jordan, realize
sky's the roof, sky's the ceiling. Roof is But in a perfect like. If they were to move off campus, what are they trying to create? Are they trying to create an intimate, like loud, great?
Yeah.
But the students aren't going to be able to.
They're not going to be there.
Like
I don't know. The only I guess it'd be like I don't know enough about the land they have there. Is it just like they have a massive thing of land where they can build like how Louisville built the KFC Yum Center where it's just mega fucking state of the art. I
was there the other day. Yeah.
Like massive.
They have one of them in
like, is that the idea?
They're going to take away a parking lot.
Yeah,
those are
so maybe the reason they're considering is not like I don't think they want to move it off campus. I think it's just like we have a lot of land there and we could build like a plaza here. We could put a bunch of statues and like
have you ever been to the Rose Bowl? But not
I have
for the Rose Bowl or for a different game?
For the Rose Bowl.
Okay, I've been there for a UCLA game and it was a horrible experience. I'm not saying it's apples and oranges because it's much farther than a mile down the road, but to get college students.
Did you drive from Westwood?
I did, and it was an absolute.
It's a nightmare.
You been to LA?
I've been to LA. I used to live in LA. I don't like to talk about it much, but I used to live out there for 4 years. I lived out there. I bumped into Jane Lynch at a diner one time. Didn't talk to her. I was too nervous, but I was like, God damn, that's Jane Lynch right there. Yeah, I didn't say that to myself.
Point being, students make the choice not to go to their games because it's a hassle to not be able to walk there.
Right. Miami had the same problem, right? Miami. All the off-campus stuff never works. DePaul has this problem in Chicago. If you've been to, that's one of the weirder things to me, and I gotta figure this out for Holt, because DePaul moving here, I've lived here for a year now. I live not too far from DePaul's campus in Lincoln Park. Dude, beautiful fucking campus, beautiful, like the richest motherfuckers in Chicago live all around that campus. It's like the nicest part of Chicago. Like I want to go to DePaul just so I can live in Lincoln Park, just so I can afford like living in Lincoln Park. That's what their campus is like. You go to their arena. Have you been to the arena?
I've not. I drive by the campus. It's great. Where's the arena?
It might be a perfect arena. It is like the perfect size. I don't know how many it holds, like 9,000, 10,000, something like that. It feels like it's brand new. We did the Barstool Classic there, and that was the first time. And then I went to watch Butler play there last season. So I've been there a couple times. I was like, this is an incredible arena. The arena's like downtown though. I think it's like sort of southish of downtown.
So not walkable, not
even close to walkable. Gotcha. But the point is, DePaul basketball DePaul has the campus and the arena, but since they're not together, it's like this doesn't work. And that's more to the point is like you can have the perfect thing, but if it's off campus, like none of this matters.
Students aren't going to those games.
Yeah,
they have to take an Uber. To go to.
They can't walk from their dorm. You're not gonna. I don't know. So hopefully this is like a non-story, and my hope is like a lot of Carolina people that are listening to this or watching this are just like, I can't believe you think this is a story. This is a non-story. We're not going to do this. We're never going to do this. You're eating the trash. Like this was a fake leak to get a booster to step up to renovate the Dean Dome. But I don't take these things for granted anymore because I don't know. It would not be the most shocking thing in the world if I woke up one day and saw a headline that like Carolina's building like a $1.2 billion like basketball complex, but it's like 5 miles from campus. And I would go crazy. I would absolutely go crazy. So hopefully they don't do that. Another thing I wanted to talk to you about was did you see the John Calipari tweet with PJ Washington? Because we talked about this on a show like a month ago.
I was wrong and you were right, Titus.
Thank you. That's all I wanted to hear. We can move on.
I still don't
we can move on. That's all I wanted to hear.
No, I want to talk about Coach Cal for a second on that though. So obviously PJ Washington played for Coach Cal 2017, 2019, first round pick. That's why you go to Kentucky, right? Mm-hmm. So you said, look, you choose your coach, you don't choose your school. There's going to be Kentucky players that go to Arkansas. They've done that. How about Coach Cal suiting him up and then tweeting?
That's crazy. That is crazy.
Like it's
not just shirt. He got shorts on too.
It's one thing.
That was crazy.
Like I'm sure that, former players are going to go to DePaul to see Holt or whatever that may be. You go see your coach. You go see Thad Matta, whatever you want to do. It's another thing for that coach to be like, and I want you to put on the socks and the shorts and the shirt and then here, pose for a picture.
Well, above all that, like it's a conference rival. It's like not just a conference rival. It's like, no, not the conference. It is a viable conference rival. It's not like Cal went to like a Vanderbilt or something where it's like they're technically in our conference, but like we don't really like it's Arkansas. It's fucking Arkansas, dude. So like this is like so Thad going to Butler. I don't mind throwing a Butler shirt on. Like what do Ohio State have against Butler? But Thad going to like Michigan State or something, and I'm like decked out and
again, you can go there. I agree with you. You've made your point that you go, you choose a coach, you support your coach. I have no problem with that. You don't have to throw on the jumpsuit and pose for a picture.
But I
always be recruiting.
I'm telling you that I don't think this is the end of this. I think we're gonna get.
That was great.
If we get former Kentucky guys at Kentucky Arkansas game.
What are they wearing? Are they all going to be in there?
My God. That would be an active. That would actually be
one time this year.
That would be a bridge too far.
February 1st at Kentucky. How many?
That's it. They only play the once.
They only play once. February 1st at Kentucky. Everyone's going back, right?
Dude, if I didn't even think about that because in my mind I was picturing this at Bud Walton to have like a handful of Kentucky guy, former Kentucky players like behind the Arkansas bench. But that actually makes more sense that it'd be in Lexington and like former players would show up to support their guy.
Now it's like perfect for them. I wish they had shoes.
And they wear like the AJ Hawk, Brady Quinn. Who that was Brady?
Yeah,
Quinn's
AJ
sister,
Hawk
right?
and Brady Quinn.
Brady Quinn's sister, AJ Hawk's wife, wore the split jersey. The split jersey. Yeah, like John Wall's wearing like an Arkansas.
Anthony Davis.
Yeah, the whole fucking crew.
Boogie just can't decide.
Drake's with him. He doesn't know which team to pick. Yeah, dude, that was crazy. Quick break to talk about our friends at DraftKings. NFL Week 1 is here, and a new season means new ways to get in on the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Fans have spoken. We want to bet on touchdowns. DraftKings heard us and is delivering. DraftKings Sportsbook is the #1 place to bet touchdowns. Ready to place your first bet? Try betting on something simple like picking a player to score a touchdown. Ready to do a touchdown dance of your own? New DraftKings customers bet $5 to get $250 in bonus bets instantly, plus 1 month of NFL Plus Premium on us. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code Titus. That's code Titus, Titus. It's my last name. It's right there in the show title. For new customers to get $250 in bonus bets when you bet just $5 and get 1 month of NFL Plus Premium on us. Offer ends September 19th, only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. What else did you put together a sheet for me? This was impressive. What else did you put?
Oh, I know you've been talking Maui for a while.
I have, yeah. I mentioned this at the top. So this Maui Invitational. So I gotta get back to Maui. Maui last year, the fires happened. It was devastating. It was awful for the community, and I'm not privy to how much they've built it back and how welcoming they are. Now the Maui Invitational is happening in Lahaina as far as I know, and so I take that as like the island welcoming back the Maui Invitational. And everything, especially in the early days after the fire, it felt like people were split where it's like, stop coming to our island. Like, we have a real life crisis going on here. We don't want you outsiders like fucking this up. And then other half of people were like, we need your dollars. Like, please come.
Yes.
Like, give us a bunch of money. Like, we need to revitalize this whole thing. So I don't know where they fully landed on that, but I think, as far as I know, the Maui Invitational is happening this year again.
And you've never been?
As scheduled. I've been twice.
Oh, you have? You were talking about this like this is like your bucket list item.
No, Tate, I've not only... Cody, we might need to cut that. I don't want to say I've been twice. There was a point in my life where I was proudly saying they can't have the Maui Invitational without me going.
Oh, wow.
It's like I was trying to make it seem like I've been to like 30 in a row. But then between COVID and this fire, it's like really fucked the whole thing. And
so it is strictly who is going this year that has your...
It's the tournament is returning to the... So I'm going to put on my serious hat for a second. Okay. Because like there are a few things that... There's Chaps waving at us. Hi, Chaps. Right as I put on my serious hat, Chaps.
All right, straighten out the hat.
All right, hold on. Serious hat off. Hello, Chaps. All right, hat back on. There are a few things that can get me to be extremely earnest, I guess would be the word. Like, I'm a very sarcastic guy. I find humor in everything. Everything's a fucking joke to me, and it's hard for me to take anything seriously. The Maui Invitational, after what that tournament, like we started working with them directly, where we were at the Kansas Dayton game where Obi Toppin was playing the Kansas team that probably would have gone on to win the national championship. It was an incredible game in the championship, and that was an all-time Maui Invitational. Anthony Edwards was in that tournament. Hits like a big shot against Chaminade. It was Cassius Winston and Michigan State was there. It was a great tournament. And then I went when Ohio State went. But when I was there working the tournament, I got like it was beyond the scene of Maui, and I got a serious appreciation for like what that tournament was and like how serious the teams took the basketball, how passionate the fans were, how much the island like loved the tournament being there. And then to have COVID take away two of them, they played one in Asheville, and then they played one in Vegas. They finally returned, and then I went to the one where Ohio State played. That was a couple years ago, where we were in it. Who won that one? Arizona. I think Arizona won it. I think Arizona won it a few years ago. 22? 22? Yeah, the 22 one. Arizona won. And then last year it gets fucked up, and I think it was moved to Honolulu because of the fires in Lahaina. I think you pair that, Tate, with like I grew an appreciation when they took it away, that like you have to have this tournament in the Lahaina Civic Center. It belongs in Maui. So like what that community went through, I think I'm fired up for that. Like it's like every time Maui gets taken away and we get it back, I'm going to celebrate that. I'm going to be very excited about that. Number 2, Bill Walton died. Bill Walton died. I'm still like really not over it, and I still sometimes like think about it. I'm like, that's gonna be such a fucking gut punch to when we turn on college basketball this year and realize Bill Walton's not here to bless us with being Bill Walton. So I think that's a huge thing for me, that I want to go back to Maui and like keep pumping those tires as much as possible and keep like I don't have the biggest platform in the world, but I think I've carved out a like big enough platform in the college basketball world that I want to use whatever I have to like keep shining a light on the Maui Invitational. Keep saying this is a fucking awesome thing that we have. And number 3, and maybe this is the most important, I think the field is absolutely stacked and is going to be awesome, and I think the basketball is going to be incredible. And Penny Hardaway dealing with the shit he's dealing with
right off the top
makes it even better.
I mean, the first 2 things we talked about were Memphis and UConn. Okay, that's your 11:30 game in the first round. You've got Memphis, UConn, Colorado, Michigan State, and then Auburn, Iowa State, Dayton, North Carolina. 4 games in a row starting at 2:30. Last one tipping off at 11:30 p.m.
Colorado, Michigan State's interesting to me because I think both teams I have a lot of question marks about. Like I think they're both could be good, but I don't know how good they're going to be. They seem like they both seem like I don't like they're going to take a step back, but I honestly don't know what to expect from either one of those teams, and yet I still sort of think that they're like the idea of them not making an NCAA tournament is crazy to me because I've associated both of those programs with being like right there.
Stalwarts, yeah.
So Colorado, Michigan State's going to be fascinating. UConn, Memphis, as you said, like that's fucking crazy. The two-time defending national champions, first round. Auburn, Iowa State, I think are going to be 2 top 10 teams. And Dayton, I have a prediction for this Mountain Invitational because I saw it firsthand last time Dayton was there. Dayton will have the most fans at this tournament. Dayton fans at the Maui Invitational are fucking insane. And now this Dayton team isn't going to be half as good as
I was going to say they're odd man out talent wise
as the last Dayton team that was there was. But this Dayton team is going to be very, very, or the Dayton fans, are going to show out. And that's going to make it awesome. And I think Carolina and UConn will probably be top 5 teams when we go out there. I think Iowa State might be a top 5. Iowa State brings back like their top 4 scorers, and they were top 10 team like all year last year. Like maybe not.
This feels loaded.
Auburn's going to be awesome. Michigan State, I have questions about, but it's still Michigan State. It's still Tom Izzo. Like you can't count them out. They're and like I said with Colorado too. Like I think that game's going to be very interesting because you have 2 teams that are trying to figure out what their identity is early in the season, and having that as a first round game is going to be awesome. I'm very fired up.
What is a Mark Titus trip to the Maui Invitational look like?
Oh,
like are you a 12?
I don't know, dude. I was looking at flights, and it dawned on me that this is going to be an excruciating trek out there. I miss the direct flights from LA. I'll be honest.
Yeah, you're in Chicago now.
The two times I went out there was just like it's still a far flight. It was like 5 hours from LA, but it's like. It's going to be a trek. So,
do you go out there for ball? Like, do you watch all 12?
Oh yeah. I'll go out for the ball. Yeah, that's what's it's a cock tease because you're like in paradise, but you're just like. But honestly, that's when you get into the Lahaina Civic Center, you realize that what's going on in here is better than anything going on anywhere else in the world. I really believe that. I will reference for the rest of my life the Creighton, Arkansas game at the Maui Invitational, the last one I went to. What year was that? That was 22.
Yeah,
it has
22.
to be 20. It was the 22.
You're talking about when
the 22-23 season. It was November of 22.
Arizona beat Creighton in the championship.
Arizona beat Creighton in the championship.
But the semi was
the semi game between Creighton and Arkansas is the loudest I've ever heard a basketball arena in my entire life. It was fucking crazy, and I can't say enough great things about it. If you're a fan of one of these teams and you're on the fence about going, you have to go. And I'm gonna do whatever. I was looking up flights and hotels. They're not cheap. It's not cheap, but I'm gonna make it work. I think I'm gonna make it work. And it's a bitch. And it's during Ohio State Michigan week.
It's the Monday.
And by the way, that's the problem that you're gonna have is that maybe there was a world where I was like, hey, you should come to the Mountain Invitational with me. You're never gonna be able to go. You're never gonna
prior obligations.
You're never ever gonna be able to be like, yeah, you know what I should do during Ohio State Michigan week is fly halfway around the world.
I may have a couple things.
But it's your loss, dude, because it's gonna be awesome. And then I have Thanksgiving on the island.
Is that what you do?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
You have Thanksgiving in Maui, and then Friday you fly back, and then Saturday morning you wake up and you're ready for the game.
That's awesome.
It's perfect.
What a week.
Perfect. It's a perfect week. So the Maui Invitational this year is gonna be awesome. I don't know if there's anything else to really hit on.
Cooper Flag, New Balance.
Oh shit! Yeah, I didn't talk about this. Was another thing that I lost in my honeymoon while I was gone. That feels like seismic news, doesn't it? Because like this was when NIL first started. This was the scenario that the hypothetical that was thrown out a lot was like, what if you go to a Nike school? What if you don't want to wear Nike shoes? And now here we are. We have the number 1 recruit in the country signing with New Balance at a Nike school, but they're saying he's going to wear Nikes during the games.
The way I understand it is your partnership of your school trumps your NIL deals.
That's crazy.
So Duke is a Nike school. He will then be wearing Duke on the court.
Trumps it for now.
We'll
see how fast that gets challenged.
Till the players start getting a piece of the pie.
We'll see how fast that gets challenged. I don't know if Cooper Flag's going to be the one to do it, but somewhere along the line, someone's going to be like, well, that's fucking stupid.
Yeah, what happens if Cooper Flag goes out there in New Balance shoes?
Yeah, what are they going to do?
What's the NCAA going to do?
Yeah, I mean, that's more of like a Nike Duke issue. Like Nike's going to be mad at Duke, and Duke.
Oh, that's a good point. It's not an NCAA issue
why would
at
the
all.
NCAA give a shit? It's going to be Nike and Duke. Nike's going to be like, dude, we pay you a shit ton of money to rep our brand, and you got your number 1 player wearing New Balance, and Duke's going to be like, I don't know what are we supposed to tell him.
I don't hate the move. Cooper Flag though now gets the best of both worlds. He gets to wear Nike on the court, and then he gets paid to wear
that's true
New Balance off the court.
That's true. Yeah, I think that's a massive story because it's like it's not really that big of a deal except for we see this is the start of like Like when then I remember that happening. Those were the hypotheticals. Like, oh my God, so now players can sign shoe contracts. But what will happen if a player wants to wear this shoe and this? We're like, I don't know. I guess we'll see. Well, now we're here and we're seeing. And apparently they have a situation in place. But if I was New Balance, I'd push it a little bit.
Well, I'd say
I'd push a little bit. I'd be like, Cooper, how about you want another $1 million?
I think it's
Carolina. You wear these shoes.
I think it's going to take a brand like that to push the end. Like, is there a mutual respect between Nike and Adidas? Or do they play dirty?
I don't know. I can't imagine there is.
Just think about like Nike being like, hey, reaching out to a player at an Adidas school.
Yeah.
I want you to wear
your
shoes.
Nikes. Yeah. I don't know. It's gotta happen at some point. I have to imagine it'll happen at some point.
And the first person that does, it's gonna break the news.
Yeah.
So so one of these brands better be first.
Who wants to be the pioneer? I don't know if Cooper Flagg wants that. I don't know if Cooper Flagg's trying to be a martyr, be a hero, but someone will. Someone will come along and be like, "Fuck that, dude! I'm wearing the shoes I want to wear."
I do.
They're paying me, and even if it's not Cooper Flagg, that's what I'm saying. Like if I'm New Balance, I'm like, I'm gonna sweeten the pot a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to Cooper Flagg, and I'm like, "Hey, big game against the Tar Heels coming up. How's an extra $2 million sound?"
It would be worth that marketing.
Yeah, you should absolutely do it. Unless your shoe's gonna explode like Zion Williamson's did, then at that point. That would be bad marketing. All right, enjoy the football, everybody. We'll be back next week talking more hoops. I don't know. It's sort of a weird period because like practice is about to get going. Rosters are mostly set though. I think maybe I can actually like dive in a little bit and figure out because I do kind of in the summer I make note of transfers and roster moves here and there, but I don't really take the time to like sit and look at the finished product per se. Bosco's been in the office for the last couple of days, and he will not shut up about how Bama's should be number 1 over Kansas. I regret to inform my audience he might be making some good points. Like I'm starting to read the Alabama literature.
Well, what's he arguing here? It's 1 and 2, 2 and 1.
I know it doesn't really matter. I told him I was like, you want the pressure?
Yeah,
like, have at it. Like
target on your back.
Yeah, you're preseason number 1. That is a target I don't think a program that's never won a national championship necessarily wants, but we'll see. All right, we'll be back next week. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. See you guys.